So again, welcome everyone to our coffee break. This is a series of just conversations and information that we've started last year, and we're continuing it this year. And we're actually going to have a series every month from here on out through December. So this is our kind of like re-entry one for 2025. Um, I can't recall the last one that we had, but they've always been really awesome. It's a very chill kind of environment, an opportunity to learn, to get some information about something new, something that you're interested in that can be honestly very supportive to others as well. I did want to share a little bit of my background. So, I've been working within the health, wellness, social service sector for over 17 years, particularly within my community, within the Native and Indigenous community. So, accessing resources and benefits, both from my experience as a consumer, growing up and even today, and also being a case manager, being an education guidance counselor, being a therapist, and now running a private practice, I have a lot of information around the different access points to receive services. So I want to share that with y'all. One, because I think we need to be fully informed about what we have, what our options are, and how we can best utilize those options. The other thing is important that we are able to share as much information that's honestly not in one central place and it are constant questions that we receive at Indigenous Circle of Wellness about how to access even our services. And so we're going to go over some of that too, where you're going to see what we offer and what we might not offer. And we want to make sure folks are um, feeling empowered to get connected to what their resources are or what different options that there are, whether maybe even not recognizing what resources are available. So I just wanted to kind of mention that. So a lot of the things that I'm sharing are both from my professional experience and also my personal experience as well. Okay, so knowing your options, there are several ways that you can access mental health services. One way that most people know of, or like almost always ask us, do you accept insurance? Right? And that is probably the first thing you'll ask any kind of provider, like, do you accept insurance? And that is one way. That's one of many ways to access services. And so insurance-based payment options include private health insurance. So this might be like having Kaiser, Blue Shield, Aetna, um, United Healthcare. Like there's so many different private health insurances. And then within that, within a private healthcare service or insurance, there's like sub parts to that. And every single one of those has different access as well. So do you have an HMO? Do you have a PPO? What does your plan include? Doesn't include? So it gets very complex. So when folks get frustrated with the insurance, trust me, I get it. It is it can be a mess sometimes and so hard to like navigate. So that's a whole nother five coffee breaks, honestly, around utilizing or getting mental health services through private insurance. But just to know that insurance-based options include like these options. Another option is Medi-Cal, Medicaid, Medicare. So these are state and federal funded insurance plans. There are also employee assistance programs. So if you have an employer, usually they have some type of program for an EAP. And then if you're a student, there's a student health insurance that is usually built in to your student resources or the services that you're paying for on campus. So these are all the different insurance-based programs. What you're going to notice on each slide is that I don't say highlighted, bolded the ones that we accept. And even then, it depends because remember, I mentioned it's complex. So with a PPO, we're considered an out-of-network provider. So we have to provide a super bill, which is a receipt for services. It's its whole own thing. But if you have PPO, talk to us because there is a way to utilize that PPO. If you have Medi-Cal, if we're thinking throughout the state of California, for example, Medi-Cal is a one big giant program, but then each county has its own sub-program. So we currently are accepting clients through the IEHP, which is for the Inland Empire, Medi-Cal. So if you have that Medi-Cal through IEHP, let us know. We definitely would be able to support you. And then we also offer some services through the EAPs. So just check that out on each of the slides. The ones that are highlighted or bolded, I'm sorry, are the ones that we do have options for. So just let us know. Okay. Self-pay options, I put a star here, a big star, because we accept all of these types of payments. Okay, this is our primary way of supporting community is our self-pay options, out of pocket, sliding scale, healthcare savings account, flexible spending account, and payment plans. The two areas that I want to highlight even further here is the healthcare savings account and flexible spending account because these are resources that are typically embedded into what is offered through an employer. So some employers either offer it completely, or you can ask about it to be added on. So healthcare savings account is a way for you to put money into a savings account, right? So you get money from your check. It goes into this healthcare savings account, which has really awesome benefits like not getting taxed. And then you can use that for health services, including mental health, right? Flexible spending accounts, usually again offered by an employer, is that they will actually put money into an account for you as part of your fringe benefits. And then you get to utilize that money towards your health and wellness services, including mental health services. So if you ever go to like a doctor's office or there's even some um, like wellness spaces, like chiropractor services that will also accept these. So you want to ask about it. If you have it, ask if the service provider that you're utilizing accepts these options. Okay. Um, so again, if you're employed and if you're employed, you can ask your employer. If you also don't have to have this, especially with the healthcare savings account, you can have it as an add-on somewhere else where money goes into a savings account for health and wellness. Okay. So if you know, like, okay, I spend about this much every year on my eye doctor visits, my medical visits, my therapy, put money into that account because it's really also beneficial when it comes to tax season. You're able to write that off, um, or have that as a separate account that doesn't have to be included in your overall like income. So if you didn't know that, check that out. You can get more information about that. But I do want to point that out because a lot of folks have it and don't utilize it, or they might have it through an employer and realize and just like not use the funds that are accessible to them. Okay. Community-based and low-cost services. So these are nonprofit, typically community healthcare centers. This might be like county services as well. University clinics will also have either low cost or free services, just depending on how the resources is offered. Faith-based organizations, so some churches or other faith-based organizations might offer counseling or support. Cultural organizations that we would be considered a cultural organization. So we do offer some low cost options to community members. And then there's also tribal health services, so Indian health services that folks can access as well. So depending on what region you're in or your tribe, they might have resources available. One thing I want to mention here is that with many of these services, you can either go directly to them and receive services if that's what they offer, the direct services. The other is you can talk to them about seeking services from an external provider. So the way that works with us is that you let them know or express to them maybe like, I really want to work with a native therapist and say your university does not offer that service. We have worked with universities where they will pay us directly for the client's services because they are not able to meet that need, but they have the funding to provide this to pay for a contractor. So we would be considered a contractor. We've done the same thing with tribal health services and urban Indian health programs as well, and tribes. So this is another option that I think is often not tapped into enough because it is a possibility and one that I think we should ask a little bit more about. And of course, we're here to help support you with that process. if that's something of interest to you. We've also been embedded into different community organization grants or resources as a line item so that we can be an accessible resource to community as well. So if you are a leader in an organization or an HR person, these are other things to consider of how to include external providers that have culturally inclusive services into the budget, because again, we've done that, and we'd love to talk to folks about how to bring the services to the community or to the employees within your organization, company, or tribe. Okay, special programs or grants. So there's many different programs out there. Again, we've highlighted the ones that we've worked with currently, that we currently work with. So there's victims compensation programs or victims of crime programs. There's disaster relief or crisis response funding. There's clinical trials or research studies. So some universities will offer free services because it's part of a program that they're doing to do research on. So I know USC a few years back was offering like 12 free telehealth sessions. And I think you just had to fill out a survey at the end of the program to see that how the therapy went, and then therefore you receive the free services with just like an anonymous response. So you can also look out for that if you're interested in that. Contracted services with employers. So this is similar to what I shared earlier, is that we and many other providers do contracted services with employers, with tribes, with organizations and universities. So there's different kind of entry points. Now I went through each one of them kind of separately. I'm gonna stop sharing my screen. I went through each one of them separately, but one thing I did want to mention is that there's ways to utilize them in like kind of in pieces, or add-ons or addition, like in addition to. So I'll give you an example for myself. So I have a private insurance, and sometimes I want to use that depending on what I'm looking for, right? Or what I need. Sometimes it makes sense for me to use the insurance. Other times I'm like, "Ugh, I can't find a provider that I really need, right? And I'm looking for a specialist. Looking for that unicorn out there, that unicorn therapist that can help me with like what I need. And they're just not on the insurance list, right? And I'm pretty sure a lot of folks have run into this. And so I'm like, okay, well, then what is my budget? What is my budget for services? What can I pay monthly? And let me look for a provider within that amount. So I've paid, even though I have private insurance, I have PPO insurance. So I have the private insurance, and I'll look for a provider who then would be an out-of-network provider. I pay them the cash, and then they give me a receipt, and then I send that to my insurance company, and then they reimburse me a portion of that amount. So that's been really awesome because I was able to see the provider that I wanted, that unicorn therapist that I was looking for, and I was able to still get some support financially from it through the insurance, right? Um, so that was one way that I've done it. I have a chiropractor, and the chiropractor does not accept insurance, but does offer packages. So I knew I needed a certain amount of sessions. I think at the time it was like 6 sessions. So he had said, if you buy this ahead of time, or pay up front, then you will be able to get the services plus like a free session. Okay, perfect. I'm gonna need the services anyways, so I paid up front, and I was able to get that service out of pocket. So one, he mentioned it to me, and then also he had then I had asked like questions. So now I know, ask some questions with different providers, like do they have a package? Do they have payment plans? What particular resources do they, or insurances or resources do they accept? There's so many out there. So that's why it's really important to get really specific. So I'm gonna pause because I've been talking a lot. I'm gonna pause and check in with the chat and also see if anybody has any questions or just wants to join in on the conversation around the different types of services, and if there's any specific questions about like access points. Any questions? How about I'm gonna pick on Yesenia because she is here. Yesenia is our clinical assistant, and she is the person that folks who are seeking services with us have an opportunity to connect with. And she answers all the questions all the time and is a great resource. So, one invitation that I have is for folks to schedule a call with her, 10 minutes. I think it's like 10 or 15 minutes. And no matter what resource you have, she can really walk you through what might be a good direction for you. So if you have Medi-Cal, and let's say it's the Medi-Cal for LA County, and we currently don't accept Medi-Cal for LA County, she can tell you how is the best way to get access to the Medi-Cal in your county, um, and get you connected to a resource, right? But if you're interested in other services, she can also support you with that. Um, so, Yesenia, I'm curious since you're on, what is a common question you get when it comes to the different payment options? Or what even might be a reason for someone to be deterred from accessing services?
So a lot of the questions that I get is, what if I can't afford your services? We understand what a lot of people are going through, and because of that, our team, which is Bridget, Monique, Wendy, they are doing a great job with securing funding. So you're more than welcome to inquire about services with us. And if you cannot afford the services, I'll go above and beyond to try to get you with somebody who's actually taking your insurance to get you on our sliding scale fee, or to see if we have any scholarship fundings available. And if so, please be assured that I will reach out. Another question is, I'm looking for a provider who connects with me with my Indigenous roots. Um, I can guarantee that at Indigenous Circle of Wellness, all of our providers are very sensitive and they understand your needs. And I will go above and beyond as well to pair you with the provider that fits your needs and that has the best connection. I always offer that extra opportunity that if you feel like there is no connection with the current provider that I pair you with, I can always um, try another provider to see if they would be the ones to fit your needs. And if not, we can always offer you a referral to another external provider that we might be connected with.
Mhm. Yeah, thank you so much. Um, so one thing I wanted to share is that on our website, we have a resource tab. And on that resource tab, we offer a lot of information around different ways of accessing services um, and also the different types of like there's a directory, for example, for Medi-Cal. So depending on if you have Medi-Cal, we have a link to the Medi-Cal directory. You put in your location there, and it's going to populate all the different Medi-Cal providers in your area, right? If you are looking for a culturally inclusive badass therapist, there is a directory called Inclusive Therapist, and that's also on our website. And we're on that list, and there's a ton of really awesome therapists on that list as well. Then there's filtering options within that resource where you're able to filter out if you're looking for a provider that takes in a particular insurance, then it will filter it out for you, right? Um, I do want to note that one of the biggest challenges that I hear folks share about is that I found the provider I want. I found them on this directory, but they don't accept my insurance. So I know that can be really disheartening, and you might be like, well, just forget it, or I'm gonna have to find another provider somewhere else with my insurance. If that provider is one that is really like, you just like, I know I can connect with them, their bio really speaks to me, I would say contact that provider regardless. Let them know that you want to work with them and see what is possible. One, because they might actually have different options for you to provide services. Maybe they have a waiting list for options. So that way they either have a pro bono waiting list or maybe they have a sliding scale waiting list. Maybe there's different ways in which you can connect with that provider. Maybe they have a group offering. Maybe they have a class that you could still get a lot of the information. I say that because sometimes we see like, oh, they don't have this, and this is my resource, or this is the one that I'm really trying to utilize. So let me just forget it and I'm gonna go over here. And then you might get a provider within the resource that you do have, and you're like, it I can access the resource because of they accept they or I can access this because they accept this particular insurance that I have, but I don't feel connected with them. I don't feel like this is a good fit. Now that's problematic because that's your healing, that's your wellness. This is the person that is supporting you. So if it is not a good fit, your healing and wellness is not going to go very far, right? So we do need to kind of balance out the like, okay, well, this is their rate if it's a private pay, and this is the resource. Where can I find that middle ground? Does it mean that I ask someone to help pay? Does it mean, because I really know I need this and it'll really help me? Is it something, and I also encourage folks right now, especially like what's going on in the world can really make a lot of things difficult. It is very difficult, including how we show up in our work. Maybe it's talking to your employer, like, look, if you can con contribute or even give me a loan for 10 sessions for this provider, I know I can really work on my healing and wellness. And then maybe there's like a payment plan, maybe it's just a fringe benefit they offer you. My point is that don't give up on they don't accept this, so I'm just not going to do it. Think through possibilities because when you do your healing work and your wellness work, the return on that investment is so incredible. Like I promise you. And again, this is not just because I'm a therapist that in a private practice. It's literally because I've done it myself, right? If anyone here has had a chance to learn more about me and my story, you'll know that it's been a rough one, okay? But I've done a lot of healing, a lot of wellness work, and at different points in my life, right? As a student, using the resources on campus, as in my out of pocket, like paying the sliding scale. At some point, paying a full rate amount, and I'm like, I don't even know how I'm gonna do this, but I know it's worth it, and it was, right? So it is kind of looking at just the different options. And that's what I'm really hoping that this space offers is for you to think through not just one option, but what are the various options, right, that are available to us and what is going to really deliver that return for yourself around like your own healing and wellness. So I'm going to just pause there and again, just kind of check in here with the chat and see if anybody has any questions, if any of our team members have any questions. Or add-ons. Maybe it's not questions. Is there a particular option that folks are mostly interested in this space? Because then I can dive a little bit deeper on that option. You can type it into the chat. Does anyone have well, I was gonna say Medi-Cal because that is one that most folks have. So um, with the Medi-Cal insurance, there is, depending on your county, um, and where you're located, it could be different on how you access that. So the first thing I would say is to know what kind of Medi-Cal you have. There's different types of Medi-Cal. So I'll give you an example. Kaiser has a Medi-Cal section for it, right? Just because you have Medi-Cal does not mean that you can use all the different providers, you have to use only Kaiser's Medi-Cal providers. Okay, so when you're signing up for Medi-Cal, you also want to know what type of Medi-Cal program are you signing up for, right? Because it could only give you access to a particular area of services depending on what it is. Within Medi-Cal as well, you're going to, so let's just say it's general Medi-Cal. Some folks have like the full general Medi-Cal. So in that case, you still have to find the services of like a provider within that area of your county that accepts the Medi-Cal. So for example, you have Medi-Cal and you're like, oh, I found a provider online virtually, but they're all the way up north. They're in like Humboldt, okay? And like this therapist in Humboldt's amazing, but and they accept Medi-Cal, but only in that county. So your LA County Medi-Cal will not, you will not be able to use it necessarily, right? So it kind of like gets really refined on like the county in which you're in. So as I mentioned, we accept Medi-Cal currently only for the Inland Empire, right? So folks in Riverside and in that kind of region, we accept that insurance. And even then, it's only two of our current providers. So as a practice, right, it's not everyone, it's like it's specific. So you do want to consider those are it does make it more complicated, right? Because it's like, okay, I have this Medi-Cal, but now I need to find the like the provider. And then if you're looking for a specific provider, it's going to be even more challenging. So it's not to discourage you, it's just to for you to understand that. So if you go to our resource page on our website, there is a link there that that says it has like the additional like resources. On there, there's a link there, sorry, that gives you the directory of all the different Medi-Cal or the DMH providers. So that's going to be specifically for like LA County, if you're in LA County, and you can put your zip code in and you can see like all the different providers within like 10 to 15-mile radius. You can expand that if you'd like. Okay. One thing I will say when you're going to utilize Medi-Cal is typically the resources you're going to get them through a community health care, a community healthcare clinic or organization, and they will most likely have a wait list. You will most likely be on a wait list for at minimum a few weeks, probably several months. So that is something just to mention because it is very impacted. Private practices, you can filter to see if they have Medi-Cal. Again, you want to go based off of a county, kind of narrow it down to county because you can be calling all these different Medi-Cal providers and they're not in your county, you still won't be able to utilize them. Okay, so I hope that's a bit helpful in how you're searching for a Medi-Cal provider. And we are hoping, well, we're in the process of being a Medi-Cal provider for Los Angeles County and then we have to actually even though we're a Medi-Cal provider, again, we have to then apply for each county. California has a lot of counties, and I will tell you the process as a service provider to get like completely like set up is months to a year. So when it comes to even LA counties, we're in that process, but we've been in that process actually for a very long time. LA County is a huge county, so their process definitely takes a lot longer. So just know that I know we are, I know there was a question about that. We are in the process of it. We just have not been fully approved for it. We're actually doing a, what is that called? I see oh my gosh, I can't think of the name. We're resubmitting because they,
An appeal.
an appeal because can you believe they told us that that they are not accepting new providers because there's like enough providers. I'm like, really tell me how many Medi-Cal providers that are native and indigenous in LA County. So anyhow, we're appealing it. You know, we'll get there. But in the meantime, I'd say still join our list, like be on our email list, because as soon as that rolls out, like we will let folks know immediately, right? But in the meantime, we're working towards it and and so forth. But so we, so you can imagine it is a process. So even though providers might not be accepting it, it doesn't mean that they won't be. So you can also ask them about that as well. Okay? Yes, and we will prevail. Absolutely. Any other questions? Okay, so if someone is on a certain budget, does ICO offer shorter term therapy session options? Yes, yes, yes. Great question. We just shared this today on our Instagram, and we are going to share this on our newsletter, on our upcoming newsletter. But it's on our Instagram, and we now have short term therapy options. And if you pay in advance for any of these short-term therapy options, you also get a discount. So we have sessions where there are 3 sessions, 5 sessions, or 10 sessions. And this kind of gives you a starting point and also just kind of like yeah, just short-term options. So some folks are like, you know what, I don't want to really be in therapy for like a long time, or maybe I've been in therapy and I just need like some support right now. I'm going through something. I think 3 sessions is going to be really helpful to me. No, no worries. We got you. We now have that option to have like short-term therapy options. Or if you want a longer package, you can do that as well. So thank you, Bahar, for that question and reminder. That is something that we are now offering. Something that is also coming down the way in the next month is payment options. So we are going to be doing, sorry, I'm sure many of you have seen this already, like payment options for clothes online or anything at all. Like you can opt to pay later, like on a payment plan. So we are going to implement something like that for therapy, where you are able to determine your amount of sessions and then be on a payment plan if as an option. You don't have to do that. That's an option to do that. So that way you can get the services now and then work on the payment as you go. So we hope all these different ways of getting access will be beneficial to the community. Okay. Any other questions that I have from folks based off of the insurance, different options? Um, if you're an employer or an organizational leader, how can you bring the therapy services into your organization for your staff? We've been working with a lot of organizations and employers on doing this, and it's essentially like an EAP program, but better because we get to really support folks with building out what that organization needs and wants. So I'll give an example. We're working with one organization right now. They have a team of 12 employees, and every single one of those employees gets to have 18 therapy sessions with one of our providers. They get that fully paid and covered. By their employer. And this is because their employer really values the mental health and wellness of their team and have has taken the has really taken this like knowing around how this is going to be supportive in the work that their employees are doing and overall for the community that they serve, because this is an organization who serves a lot of other people as well, that investment is just like tenfold, right? So it has already shown so much support to the team. As they're, doing really important social justice work. And so it's just been really awesome to see how different organizations, tribes, and even universities have partnered with us because they know that, they have allocated the funding to ensure that their teams are taken care of. So there are ways to do that. There are ways to learn more about that. So if that is something that you're interested in or curious about, definitely let me know or reach out to Yesenia. And that way, she can get you connected to see what's possible. So again, there's so many different ways in which we provide the services and make sure that they're accessible at any and all entry points, right? So also, if you're a service provider, I want you to think about what are ways folks can get entry points to you. It doesn't have to be all of the entry points. Maybe one really resonates with you more than another. As you saw, we don't accept all the things, but there are various options that we do offer that really work for the framework and the ways in which we provide services, and that we're committed to continuing to do. And as time goes on, we're able to add on more, right? So again, just some encouragement for folks, depending on what you like where what kind of positionality you might be in and ability to get more services out to community. One thing I will say is that it's a little difficult sometimes when we only rely on one resource because then we get really like bottlenecked into one option. And so this is why I also wanted to share the different types of options because I want us to just really think about for our own health and our wellness, which is so important. Um, what can we think? Well, what can be the different options? We are not, I have a question. Are we in network with Aetna? We are not in network with Aetna, but if you are if you do have a PPO through Aetna, we are considered an out-of-network provider. And one thing I'm going to share with you all about insurances and why maybe you're going to notice a lot of therapists don't accept insurances. Because you're like, oh, every time I contact a therapist, they don't accept my insurance. I feel your pain. I get it. And let me tell you why. You probably already know this, but the insurance setup is just not one that really is, the payout of it is very minimal for the providers to the point where it's like literally like unsustainable for us to do our work, and like run a practice. So some folks will accept different insurances. I know some providers will just stick to one insurance because that one will pay them more than another. But when I say not paid, well, like y'all, I'm talking about like we billed one insurance and then we got the reimbursement. I was like, that is not even the hourly rate of the staff salary. That did not include like their notes. That did not include like the anything like extra. It was just like the session. And so the system is not set up well. Just I think we all know that, but I just want to like put that out there. So, but we don't accept certain insurances. We've tried on some insurances and they just did not work out. As a way to see how it would be, and we're like, oh, this is not sustainable. At least not for us, because we have a focus on quality mental health care, and we can only provide quality if our therapists are also paid properly. So this is something about and so how do we do this? We do this in like other ways. But again, depending on what insurance you do have, and if even if we don't accept it, because I know some people get mad at us, like, why don't you accept it? You should accept it. I'm not saying anyone on here is mad at us about that, but I'm just saying, like, I know sometimes it's like a frustration. I know it's not a frustration towards us, but I just want to explain, like, why that is, and why some providers, might not accept it. Um, but the insurances that we do offer, just so you all know, as I mentioned, IEHP is one that we accept. We accept a few EAPs, Canopy, I was going to say Cascade, that's their old name. Canopy and Mutual of Omaha are the other two. Another way that you can use your EAP is if you have an EAP that you would like us to use, because you're like, myself and my coworkers can really use your services. We are more than happy to talk to your EAP provider and be contracted with them. Okay, so just let us know. So EAPs, those are the ones we currently offer, and then out of network. So if you have a PPO insurance, not Kaiser, because Kaiser has their own entire system, but a PPO, we can talk about what options you have with that, or how the payout typically goes. And then I would say the number one way in which we bring services to community outside of private pay is going to be contracted services. So we've had like large contracts with different organizations who will have like a specific like pot of funding for their organizations. Oh, and Kylie just mentioned we have EAPs that offer single case contracts. So we don't have to have a full contract, but we can maybe just work with you all. So just reach out about that as well. There is also potential single case contracts with insurances such as Aetna. Some providers will do that where they won't be an in-network for that, for the full, like just to accept a bunch of different clients, but they could do it just for the person who is needing that service. So you could ask about that as well. With the insurance, if you're really wanting to use your insurance, like that is the primary way in which you're going to use services, I would say contact the insurance. There's two ways actually. Contact the insurance and ask them for a list of providers. And you can get specific. Let them know, like, I'm looking for a female, someone who specializes in depression and anxiety, and I need someone who offers in person. Okay, those are very specific things. So you can ask them for a list. They should be able to give you, like, okay, these are the three people in your area that fit this criteria, so you can contact them because they accept your insurance. Okay. Um, that's the other way I would say is going onto a directory. So there's Latinx therapy directory, there's inclusive therapist directory. If you even Google a person and then input or like a provider like seeking therapist for depression and anxiety who accepts Kaiser and something should pop up. So directors are going to be helpful and then also really refining your search. And then another thing I would say is interview your providers. So these are typically these are either offered like in consultations, free consultations, or or like a first session, but you do want to get to know the provider you're going to work with and make sure it's a good fit because what also happens is that someone will get started with a provider and then they're like, "Ooh, we don't connect." Like I'm not going to tell them anything or they're just not going to get it. And that could be true. It doesn't make them a bad therapist. They're just not your therapist. They're not your good fit. Now, it does make it more difficult when you're on a waiting list to work with a provider say with an organization, a community-based organization, which typically they're not going to tell you who's the provider you're going to be assigned to. You're going to be assigned to someone, usually without choice. It's just like this is the next person available. And you waited 2 months. And now you're like, really? I waited 2 months to get to this phase and to sit in this seat with this person, and I don't even think we're gonna vibe. That is so frustrating and challenging, which is, I would say, what you could do is ask them what a list of their providers are ahead of time, do some research on them, see if they could be potentially a good fit, maybe advocate for yourself. I'm like, I know this person works in this organization. When they have an availability, can you please pair me with them? That's one way to do it. The way we do that with an Indigenous Circle of Wellness, because we have a team of therapists, is that Yesenia asks questions at the beginning, gets to know you, and then say, you know what, based off what you're sharing, this provider is going to be the best fit for you. That might be based off of their cultural background. That might be based off of their approach to services. It might be based off of the availability. Because for some folks, it might be like, I am pretty good at connecting with anyone. I just need to make sure I'm able to work with someone on Thursdays at 5 p.m. because that's the time I'm available. And that's real too, right? Around like availability. So I know we have just about 9 more minutes left, and I want to see if there's any other questions any other or even resources folks have, they can feel free to share. You're welcome to go off screen, go off camera or come on camera, join us on screen.
Hi, you guys. My name is Christine, and I just wanted to say thank you. I really loved the list of resources that you shared, and I'd like to make that available to people. I liked all the different creative options, and it just makes me think, even for myself, like how much I need to grow and different ways that I can grow and the people that can help me do that. I did want to share something that's very close to my heart. I would like to see Native Americans in some new jobs that are opening statewide. It's called Certified Wellness Coach, and they're very good paying jobs, and they're going to be in all of our K through 12 schools. And anybody that has a background in addiction counseling would already be very likely be qualified. So I'm going to drop that link into the chat. And again, I would like to see in all of our schools, Native Americans taking the leadership and really being the model for wellness. So I'm going to drop that in there, and anything I can do to support that effort, I really would like to. So thank you for all you do. It's really an honor to be here with you today. And we refer many of our students to your Circle of Wellness online, and we're very, very grateful for that. So thank you for all you do.
Awesome. Thank you so much, Christine. And thank you for sharing that link. And that is something that is so important. We need more providers. We need whether it's therapists, case managers, social workers, coaches, wellness coaches. Um, in every area of wellness, of healing and wellness in the service industry, which is a multi-billion-dollar industry, I will tell you, we are not represented. We are very low represented in most industries, but we need to be providing the services to our community. And that is also something that obviously we do at Indigenous Circle of Wellness in our employment opportunities. And in the future, we plan to do more trainings for service providers to either join our team or to even create their own private practice, because we need to be in these different spaces and offering the different options that are out there, right? So definitely stay connected with us in our on our email list. Stay connected with us online through our social media outlets. And if we don't have the answer, we are always willing and excited to share the connections, right? So this is what we're here for. Even if you're like, oh, I can't afford you all right now, we get it, right? But we also have other options. We don't just do therapy individually. We also do wellness circles. We also do workshops, we do trainings, we have coffee breaks like this. So there is different ways to connect with us and get resources. And we are working towards trying to get more access to more folks, right? And we're doing this in a number of ways. One is right now, our team, if y'all have been following us, has been expanding so that we are able to actually receive more clients, right? Because we know there's a need. And so we're expanding our team. The other ways in which we're doing that is you're going to see more offerings that we're going to be able to provide to community that are free or very low cost. So again, different entry points in which folks can access resources from us, even if it's not that individual one-on-one therapy at this time. However, if you are someone out there that has the resources and support that we can partner so we can bring more free resources or low-cost services to community, we are all for it. And we'd love to have a conversation with you, because that is one thing that I would say we do very well, is work in partnership with organizations, tribes, and businesses to bring more accessible resources to the community that are high quality, because that, again, to us is really important. So again, I just want to say thank you all for joining today. Whether you're joining us live or you are joining us on YouTube afterwards, whichever way in which you're connecting with us, we will make sure that you have the resources that you need, the links that you need to access the different information. And we will also be sharing the slides. So if you want to review the slides to see what different resources, again, and the different payment options are available, that will be provided to you as well. So have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you for joining us, and make sure to reach out. We want to stay connected with you. Bye.